Hipcamp has evolved and scaled. But can you briefly, walk us through that?
So at first, Hipcamp was, at first it was called California Camping, and it was just me. And I'd recently been to a coding boot camp, and I was like, what if I just put all the campsites in California? Like the big insight was, can I put the state parks and the national parks on one map? Because that would be cool. And that didn't exist yet. We then ended up getting into this whole like open data advocacy thing. I spent a bunch of time in DC and Sacramento. It was like kind of this crazy important sidebar. So that was kind of the first chapter of the company, I would say. It's like totally focused on public land, and really successful actually at the open data advocacy. We got both the federal government and the state of California to change their contracts so that all the information about public lands is public, which sounds obvious, but was not going to be the case until we intervened. So that was kind of wild. And then the kind of funny, sad part about that is we won. We had this huge victory. The head of the Outdoor Industry Association told me we've never seen the government move so fast on a topic, so much, like huge win. Wow. But then we learned that the actual time to implementation was probably going to be 4 to 5 years. And we were going to be dead by then, like for sure out of money, for sure dead company. And that was actually when we got the like idea or the initiative to work with private land. So then there's this whole kind of second chapter of like, cool, public land's awesome. And we had this huge win and wow. And if we don't find another revenue model, if we don't find another supply, we can actually help people book, we will die. We will go out of business. So that was kind of this whole second chapter of, is there even private land people want to camp on? Why would, someone who owns hundreds of acres of land and is presumably worth millions of dollars, potentially let members of our community come visit there, and kind of figuring out how to really construct a community of trust, and a culture that's consistent enough that people show up. Like one of our core values is leave it better. And we like, beat that into people from start to finish. So hopefully for the most part, they show up really respectfully and with a good impact on the land and on the people they meet there. So that's kind of the whole second chapter that really scaled us through our Series B, and again, across Australia, the UK, Canada. And then just recently, a lot of the established campgrounds, so kind of we think of them as more the commercial businesses, which are also awesome. Their booking systems just started being open to APIs. This is something we tried to make happen like years ago, and they were like, what's an API? We don't do that. And they just started opening up APIs. So we were able to come in and integrate with almost every single major PMS and bring a ton of commercial supply online. So that's kind of maybe our third chapter, is taking this more professional supplier and starting to figure out how to have different types of supply. And like, that's really hard in of itself, because now we've got like these, we've got our supply base now ranges from a blueberry farmer with a single campsite on their land that has no interest in being anywhere but Hipcamp. And all that matters to them is that they get enough bookings that they want, that the campers are really respectful, the blueberries are like, good. And then like on the other side, we have like some of the largest like real estate companies in the US who happen to also own like 150 campgrounds, and like are like listing all of them with their like super, corporate and amazing and intelligent VP of like business development. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's a big range. So that's been really interesting. And then the next chapter we're heading into this year, and I really just figured this out last week, is we're circling back to public land. I really want to get that public land bookable on Hipcamp. Is something that is like our most requested kind of feature from our community, and I'm gonna go back to DC this year, I think, to help make sure that happens. So